Hello, I'm Dr. Sophie Miller, and today I need to tell you something that could completely change the health of your brain. Did you know that some vegetables you eat every day, thinking you're doing good for your health, might actually be stealing your memory, taking away your mental clarity, and even accelerating cognitive decline? Yes, and the worst part is that nobody has told you this until now. If you're over 60 years old or know someone in that age range who's been complaining that their memory isn't what it used to be, that they forget where they left their keys, that they lose their train of thought in the middle of a sentence, or that they feel that sensation of mental fog that never seems to go away, pay very close attention to what I'm going to tell you now. The problem might not be just about age. It could be hidden right there on your plate in the choices you make every day at lunch and dinner. After decades of seeing patients and deeply studying the neuroscience of aging, I learned something fundamental that I need to share with you. The brain is an extremely sensitive organ. It reacts to inflammation, suffers from oxidative stress, and depends on a very delicate balance of nutrients to function properly. And here's the big problem. Certain vegetables, even though they seem super healthy and are recommended out there as if they were miraculous, can actually trigger dangerous inflammatory processes and seriously harm cognitive function, especially when you consume them in excess or inappropriately. Have you ever thought about this? Let me explain what happens to the brain when we reach 60 years old. Over time, that wonderful protection our brain has, called the blood-brain barrier, which works like a filter preventing harmful substances from entering the brain, becomes more permeable, more fragile. This means that toxins, inflammation, and substances that were previously completely blocked can now penetrate and cause real damage to neurons. And there's more. The production of very important neurotransmitters like acetylcholine and dopamine naturally decreases, and the brain becomes much more vulnerable to oxidative stress, which is basically the rust of our neurons. It's exactly in this delicate scenario that some vegetables, those rich in oxalates, anti-nutrients, or pro-inflammatory substances, can become true silent villains of your brain health. Meanwhile, other vegetables, those loaded with powerful antioxidants, folates, and neuroprotective compounds, function as true shields for your neurons. The difference lies in knowing how to choose. Let me tell you a real story that perfectly illustrates this. I met Mr. Anthony, a 67-year-old gentleman, retired, always been an active person, full of life. He came to my office visibly worried and told me, "Doctor, I can't remember where I leave things anymore. Sometimes I forget what I was going to say right in the middle of a sentence. My wife is saying I'm becoming confused, and that really scares me." Imagine his anguish. Can you feel it? When I started carefully investigating Mr. Anthony's diet, I discovered something that completely surprised me. He ate raw spinach every day at lunch, thinking he was doing super well for his health. He ate sautéed chard at dinner and cooked beets as a side dish in almost every meal. All vegetables, all considered healthy, everything anyone would say is optimal for health. But the problem was right there, in those choices that seemed perfect. Raw spinach, chard, and beets, those three vegetables that Mr. Anthony religiously consumed every day, are rich in something called oxalates. When you consume oxalates in excess, they can accumulate in your body, cause dangerous systemic inflammation, seriously impair the absorption of essential minerals like magnesium and calcium, which are fundamental for brain function, and even contribute to something called neuroinflammation, which is direct inflammation of brain tissue. Besides that, chard and spinach, when consumed raw, contain very high levels of nitrates that, when not properly metabolized by the body, can generate neurotoxic compounds, meaning toxic to neurons. Now, pay attention. I'm not saying in any way that these vegetables are poison. Far from it. But here's the crucial issue. For those over 60 years old with kidney function already naturally slower, with a more fragile and permeable brain barrier, excessive and daily consumption of these specific vegetables can be a real shot in the foot. It could be exactly what's causing that mental fog, those memory lapses, that feeling of confusion. So let's talk clearly about the 3 vegetables you need to consume with much more moderation if you're over 60 years old. First, raw spinach when consumed in excess. It's rich in oxalates and nitrates, can cause inflammation, and hinders the absorption of essential nutrients for the brain to function well. Second, chard, which has extremely high levels of oxalates. When consumed frequently, it can overload your kidneys and significantly increase neuroinflammation. And third, beets in large quantity. Despite all the cardiovascular benefits they offer, and yes, they do exist, excess nitrates can be very problematic for those who already have some cognitive impairment or reduced metabolism. But calm down, take a deep breath, because you don't need to panic and completely abandon these vegetables. The solution is much simpler than you imagine. You just need to moderate consumption, cook them very well, because cooking considerably reduces oxalates, and mainly not make them the base of your daily diet. Does that make sense to you? Now comes the good part, the part that will really protect your brain. When I adjusted Mr. Anthony's diet, I included 3 absolutely powerful vegetables, rich in antioxidants, folates, and anti-inflammatory compounds that are scientifically proven to protect neurons. First, kale, but sautéed or cooked, never raw. It's extremely rich in vitamin K, lutein, and antioxidants that directly protect against cognitive decline. There are scientific studies showing that older adults who regularly consume kale have brains that are functionally 11 years younger in cognitive tests. Have you ever imagined having a brain 11 years younger just by changing one vegetable on your plate? Second protective vegetable, broccoli. It's an incredible source of sulforaphane, a bioactive compound that activates neuroprotective genes in your DNA and drastically reduces brain inflammation. Broccoli is literally a shield against dementia. And third, arugula or rocket. It's light, super digestive, and full of beneficial nitrates, which are different from those present in excess in beets. Arugula improves cerebral blood flow, oxygenates neurons, and is extremely rich in folate, which is absolutely essential for the synthesis of neurotransmitters, those substances that make your brain work properly. Do you know what happened to Mr. Anthony after making these simple changes in his diet? In less than 6 weeks, just 6 weeks, he came back to my office with a completely different smile on his face. He told me, "Dr. Sophie, the fog disappeared. I can remember things again. I'm much more energetic. Even my wife noticed the difference and commented." And you know what the conclusion was? He didn't have dementia. He didn't have Alzheimer's. He simply had dietary choices that were inadequate for his stage of life for the specific needs of his brain at that moment. And this isn't just my clinical experience. Science proves all of this. A very important study published in the scientific journal Neurology followed more than 950 older adults for 5 complete years and came to a crystal clear conclusion. Those who consume leafy green vegetables rich in vitamin K, lutein, and folate like kale and broccoli have significantly slower cognitive decline over the years. On the other hand, excessive consumption of foods rich in oxalates and anti-nutrients is directly associated with greater systemic inflammation, which is one of the main triggers of Alzheimer's and other dementias. Do you understand the severity and importance of this? The difference between choosing one vegetable or another can literally save your mind, your independence, your quality of life. It's not about stopping eating spinach or beets forever. It's not about radicalism. It's about deeply understanding that, after 60 years old, the body functions differently, metabolism changes, needs change, and dietary choices need to intelligently accompany that change. Moderating oxalates, prioritizing powerful antioxidants, and choosing vegetables that truly protect the brain instead of inflaming it can be exactly the line that separates mental clarity from fog, independence from dependence, quality of life from loss of autonomy. If you're over 60 years old, or if you know and love someone in that age range, I want you to make this simple change today, right now. Reduce the excess of raw spinach, chard, and beets in your daily diet, and put on your plate much more frequently well-sautéed kale, steamed broccoli, and fresh arugula. Your brain, your neurons, your memory will thank you in ways you can't even imagine. Based on recent scientific studies and the clinical experience of someone who has seen this transformation happen literally hundreds of times throughout my career, I tell you with complete conviction, the right choice of vegetables, that detail that seems so simple, can protect your brain, your memory, your lucidity for many, many more years. Small changes, when they're the right changes, make absolutely enormous differences in your health and your mind, your cognition, your mental clarity deserve all that protection, all that care. So tell me here in the comments, do you or someone in your family consume these vegetables every day? Have you noticed any symptoms of mental fog, frequent forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating? Share your experience with me, because the more we talk about this, the more people we can help. And if this video made sense to you, if you learned something important today, share it with that person you love who needs to hear this information. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos about health, wellness, and how to age with quality, with lucidity, with a full life. I'm Dr. Sophie Miller, and I'm here to help you make smarter decisions for your health. Until the next video, and take very good care of that wonderful brain you have.